you want to be a part of growing Estill County into a better place to live, work, and play? Then consider a tax-deductible contribution to Estill Development Alliance. For over 25 years, EDA has been working to improve the quality of life for the people of Estill County. Through a multitude of projects and programs, we work to make our hometown the best it can be. Learn more or make a donation by visiting estill.org. Hello there, Radio Land. This is Goosehead Joe. Do you want to learn more about the people, news, and views that make Irvin, Ravenna, and Estill County Kentucky's hometown? Join me for Come On Home. We have awesome guests, amazing local music, and we have a good old time. Join me every Wednesday from 1 to 3. You'll be glad you did. I'm going home. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the winter edition of the Estill Development Alliance Community Forum. We're so happy that you are joining us this evening, and we're going to jump right into it tonight. The community forums are the EDA's opportunity to address different topics, things that are going on, things that are coming up. Maybe, sometimes it's even just a concern of a lot of folks in our community. And we try to find the folks who know the answers to our questions and get them in here and have that conversation so you folks at home can hear those answers. So again, we thank you for joining us tonight. And we're going to start off the evening with the presentation of some Estill County captains. So I will give you a little rundown here of exactly what the captains are. The mission of the Honorable Order of Estill County Captains is to recognize those who uphold the honor and traditions of Estill County, Kentucky, USA. Invitation to the ranks of the order will be made to individuals who have gone to great lengths to serve Estill County or its people, and also to individuals who are Estill Countyans by birth, residence, or occupation who have accomplished some great individual feat worthy of recognition. The official seal of the Honorable Order is explained as follows. The term captains is in honor of Captain James Estill, for whom Estill County is named. The center of the seal features a Kentucky long rifle crossed with an 18th century officer's saber to represent Estill County's pioneer heritage and the resilient nature of its people, as well as to honor the service in defense of our nation by Estill Countyans past and present. The 1808 signifies the year Estill County was founded from parts of Clark and Madison. And then the 50 encircling stars represent the patriotism of Estill Countyans and that the county was the 50th in order of formation. So we are here tonight to present 3 newly minted Estill County captains. And at this time, I would like to welcome Mr. Jimmie Wise to the podium to make our first presentation.
Thank you, Joe. I'm also an Estill County captain, and for many years, Joe and I have worked together. As a captain, one of the things we do is we help to think about some of the people in Estill County who's helped to bring the county to the level where it is and to go beyond. And tonight, I'm going to be talking about Mr. Fred Rogers. Joe said I could talk as much as I want as long as I make it quick, right? So, Fred, when I got involved in EMS, emergency services as a whole, in 1990, one of the key strong components of this county, and still is Mr. Rogers. Fred has been there for us in several different angles, several different areas. As a fire chief back in the 80s and early 90s, Fred was there at every scene. He was at every rescue, at every EMS run that we needed, and even on later as your EMA person, the CSEC people. He was the go-to guy for whatever we needed. So, Fred, I'm going to set this on your behalf and let you know everybody's wishing you well. Fred's home tonight. I think he's a little under the weather, not feeling very well. So, Fred, I'm going to accept this for you and understand we love you and we've always needed you, and hope you get feeling better.
Thank you, Jimmie. We appreciate that. And yes, Fred, we love you. Definitely feel better, and we hope to see you soon. Next, I have the distinct privilege of presenting a gentleman who at times has described himself as just a big sweaty dude. Geno Seale, many of you have at least heard of the man. He's a songwriter. He's a performer. He won't claim to be a guitarist, but he does love to collect guitars. He can definitely get some happy noises to come out of them when he bangs on them. I have known Gene since we were little kids. We played ball together, went through school together, and he's been involved in music and creating since he was a kid. And as the scene, for lack of a better term, has emerged for local music in not only Estill County, but our region as a whole, Gene has not only been a member of the scene, a performer, he's definitely been the biggest fan of anyone that I've met. You will not see a local performance happening without Geno out there giving some hugs, and he really does give the absolute 100% best hugs of anybody around. And it's because of all those things. I mean, I can keep going. He's a heck of a dad. I'm assuming a decent husband, but he's a very lucky husband. I will say that. But for all of his contributions, his eternal optimistic and positive attitude, and all of the support that he has shown to our local arts scene, I would like to present, as an Estill County captain, Mr. Geno Seale. Yeah, it's a small group. We don't have a big.
Do I have to say much of anything?
You can. Ethan's going to take our picture.
Okay.
Take the mask down so that you are.
Okay, put it back there.
Picturing that. Okay.
All right, we got it. You say a few words.
Well, when Joe contacted me, I wasn't even aware that this was a thing, and I really was. It really did make my day. I was tickled to death. You know, I'm from Estill County. I'm proud to be from Estill County. This is my home. This is where they're going to put me in the ground. You know, when I was a younger man, I would swear that I was leaving Estill County because everybody knew everybody, you know, which basically meant they could run and tell my mama all the trouble I was getting into, you know. And as I got older, I realized that, you know, one of the big reasons that I love Estill County is because everybody knows everybody. I appreciate the hug from a lady at a grocery store because just to ask her how her day was, you know, or just, I don't know, just there's genuine, kind, nice people here, and I'm proud to be from here. As far as music goes, start off singing in churches and school plays and that kind of thing, and just it's always been with me. And I've told everybody that, like, you know, music is a thing. It's just a friend that will never leave you. It's always with you. Even if you can't sing, you can sing. Sing in your car, sing in the shower, belt it out and make a beautiful noise. You know, it's just a thing that'll never leave you. And as far as the arts and the music that's here in this county, we've always had a rich history of music here in Estill County, like Either Mountain, you know, people are playing bluegrass gospel and a lot of stuff like that going on, you know. Painters and photographers and a lot of artists, you know, we've had a rich history with that kind of stuff. But here, you know, as of late, it seems like there's a lot more eyes on this area and everything, and it truly is an honor just to be a small part of that. And I love to support those people that are genuine about what they're doing, and that's pretty much it. I love music, and I'm a fan of it. I'm a fan of the arts, and I'm a fan of Estill County. So thank you all so much for this. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. Excellent. It's one of those, you know, COVID and everything's weird. I know it's been especially hard on Gene because, I mean, he can't help it. He's just loaded with hugs, and they're fighting to get out. Well, congratulations again to Gene. I know he's got a jet out because he's got to pick up his girls. But yes, congratulations and thank you. And finally, this evening, another individual who is near and dear to my heart. Mr. Aaron Rader. Well, actually, that was a nice segue. Both of these people are near and dear to my heart. But presenting our next honoree is EDA board member, Mr. Aaron Rader.
Step up. So, thank you, Joe, for allowing me this honor. I'm here to present Estine Tipton. So, Joe went over some of the attributes of what a Estill County captain was. I kind of reiterated those in what I was going to say. But it's established to recognize those who uphold the honor and tradition of Estill County, those who have gone to great lengths to serve the county and its people. In the center of the Seale is the Kentucky Long Rifle crossed with the officer saber, and it represents the pioneer heritage and resilience. I want to hit on that keyword, the resilience. I can think of few people who meet those standards more than Estine Tipton. As a working wife and mother who worked at Carhart's and various other places, she was a city councilwoman in Ravenna and mayor of Ravenna. Estine has and is still leaving a legacy of hard work, resilience, and treating others as you would want to be treated. I include that in more than working hard because in today's society, I truly believe that working hard is only part of the equation. It's easier to get ahead when you push people down, but not in her case. It's harder to stay positive and bring people up, which is what she does. Even among those who would drag you down with them, she doesn't stoop to that level. She brings everybody up with her. Some of the things that she's done, obviously, I've said before, she was Ravenna City Councilwoman. She was a mayor. She's been on the EDA Board of Directors. She's been involved with Kiwanis, Mountain Mushroom Festival, the Ravenna Railroad Festival, planting flowers and weed eating. If you see someone bent over in Ravenna City Park, that's her. And she does that always with a smile. So you get to call her all of these things, but I get to call her Mima. So congratulations, Mima.
Very nice. Very nice.
You're supposed to give me something now. Here, it's bread. Thank you. Push my glasses in, Joe. Those look like my eyes should always.
Congratulations. I'm not the player.
Thank you, Aaron, but you about made me cry. But I do love it. Can you talk to it? I do love Estill County, and I talk to Susie Hawkins a lot, and I think, why didn't I start at things a whole lot when I was a whole lot younger? And I still do everything I can. So I love Estill County, I love living here, and I love people. Like Aaron says, they put me down sometimes, but I didn't them. I just prayed for it and went on. And I do love all of you all, Joe and all of them. And I love being in chamber and EDA. Whatever I'm in, I do what I can. Right, Joe?
That's right.
And thank you all so very much.
Oh, mercy, that kind of got me a little bit too. Whew, good job, Aaron. I don't think anybody could have done a better job with that.
Yeah, I couldn't talk after him.
I will say now is we're getting ready to switch over to our feature presentation this evening. For those of you who do have to skedaddle off, thank you again for being here, and we appreciate you taking the time to be with us tonight. So at this point, I'm going to welcome one of those experts that I was talking about 15 minutes ago. This gentleman, he's definitely a jack of all trades because he adapts to become what he needs to be to help the communities that he's working with at any given time. I lovingly refer to him sometimes as MERP. Because that is his education, a master's in urban and regional planning. He has continued in all these different directions. Currently, he is, make sure I get it right, the Downtown Revitalization Coordinator. All right, for the Community and Economic Development Initiative for Kentucky, or of Kentucky, that's CEDIC at the University of Kentucky. So essentially, he works with downtowns around Eastern Kentucky, from the perspective of kind of the community and economic development arm of Extension that's based at UK. So I'm going to move this podium out of the way, and we're going to have a sit-down chat. Welcome, Mr. Shane Barton. All right, Shane, we'll...
I think we have...
do we have our distance?
I think we... Yes.
I'll stay away on this corner, you stay away on that corner.
Touch feet.
Shane, which you're a Berea resident currently.
Correct.
And so I appreciate you fighting through the snow drifts to come over and spend some time with us. But yeah, going back through a few years, we've known each other and had the at least it was a privilege for me. I don't know about you, but
most certainly.
But being able to work together on some different initiatives, some that were specific to Estill County, some that just included Estill County. But you've kind of made your way a little bit around the university, but always working in a development capacity. So what we're here to talk about tonight is BR&E, which I shorten to BRE because I can't get the and in there. But we'll start off with this is a joint effort. Actually, let's back up first. Let's talk about R3 first. So yeah, kick in. I never remember what the 3 R's are.
It's all right.
So go ahead and get started.
I may even take it one step back from R3 even and start with some of SEDEC's first downtown revitalization work. So in 2017, we were awarded a power grant from the Appalachian Regional Commission to focus on downtown revitalization. And at SEDEC, since we are housed at the University of Kentucky within Extension, we already had a suite of services available, programs that we would deploy in communities in partnership. Whether we're assessing something and thinking about how to evaluate and move forward, or planning, really touching on a number of topics, whether the First Impressions program, which is the community-wide secret shopper where we invite people into your community and they share what that experience is like, or BR&E. I also shorten it to BRE as well, the Business Retention and Expansion program. But then sprinkled in there as well was youth engagement programming and creative placemaking and community design. So we took that effort really as a first step towards what has become R3. And over those 3 years, really worked with about a dozen communities in Southeast Kentucky, implementing all kinds of cool programs. From Letcher County to Whitley County and sort of everywhere in between there. But coming out of that, one of the things that we realized was that we needed to do more really to create a more fertile environment for investments, not just public investments, not government dollars, but how do we really attract private investments to places that are chronically underfunded, right? And when we think about in a global world that Irvin and Ravenna are competing for investment dollars with the likes of Berea or Fayette County or even other places, when we start to think about opportunity zones where really wealthy people could put their money, we really started to think about what does that investment ecosystem look like? And so came R3, the revitalize, redevelop, and reinvest.
There you go.
In Appalachia. So really taking that one step further and thinking and working with communities like Estill County, focusing on what does it take to make a place attractive for someone else's dollar. We're already interested in investing our own dollars locally, but what can we do to attract some of that other private investment? So that's really where R3 is now. And as a part of R3, similar to our other downtown work, we're also utilizing some of that same programming. So we'll be doing First Impressions, Business Retention and Expansion, creative placemaking, some youth engagement, things like that. Which brings us to BRE.
There you go. Okay.
And BRE, just to give you a little insight, is a program that did not start at the University of Kentucky. Right. This was a program that has been sort of out there in the world for years and years. And we host the program for Kentucky at UK within Extension. And BRE essentially is a program that, again, we bring to communities in partnership to support sort of that community, really digging in and answering the question, what's it like to do business here from a business owner's perspective?
Right. And that's, that kind of brings us to where we are now. That great job. You took us all the way back to the beginning and brought us up to where we're supposed to be. So we are launching a BRE program right here in Estill County. This is the official announcement, I guess you'd say, of what's getting started. Now, this is going to take a couple months to make the rounds and all that, but we... Before I get into the nuts and bolts, you talked about, we want to find out what it's like to do business from a business owner's perspective. Well, why? Why do we need to know that?
Why is that important?
Right.
I think the best way to articulate that may be to jump into some of the things that other communities have learned and how they've responded. Because I would imagine that there may be similar stories at play here. Mm-hmm. But I think the first, before we get into the details, before you make a decision, you have to be informed, right? And before we start to make decisions around what can we do here in the community to make it easier for businesses to operate, to make it easier for new businesses to come online, to make it easier for existing businesses to maybe add an employee or an employee and a half, right? Because those numbers add up. Why we do it is because of what we learn and what we can do. So a couple quick examples. And like I said, I think these may be similar to themes that could present themselves here. In one community, we heard a lot of comments about how difficult it was to park downtown or in front of a business. And that's a pretty common critique. I always say, I'm going to take a quick tangent here, but I'm going to circle back to BRE. That parking conversation is difficult because sometimes there are legitimate parking limitations. Sure. Other times there are willingness to walk issues.
Right.
And I tend to, I want us to create mental maps in our head to think about when you go to that big box store and you park halfway back and you maybe walk to the milk and then you circle through the paper towels and maybe to the dog treats and you come back. Well, you've walked about 2 blocks, right?
Right.
So it's a perception issue. But again, we can have another program about parking.
Yeah.
But what this community did was a lot of businesses shared that parking was a challenge and that their customers couldn't park. But what we actually found out when we started to look was that the public parking lots that were accessible to buildings were unmarked, they were unadvertised, and visitors didn't know where they were. So there was this huge chunk of unutilized parking that no one was being directed to, that all of that was being focused on the street to the storefronts. So what happened was there was essentially an investment made in some fairly cheap wayfinding signs directing visitors and businesses to those city lots. So it's sort of the 2 birds with 1 stone. Not only did you create and sort of generate some traffic to tell people where to go, but you also showed that commitment from the city, because one of the things that we really hope happens from BRE, beyond the relationships and the information, is that it really shows a commitment on the part of the host community, you all, and your partners, your multiple partners at play here, and how you respond. So I think that's one example of how that comes out. Another example is related to sort of the impediments to doing business, in particular in our communities that have abandoned or underutilized buildings, right? Think about a vacant building in your community here downtown or in your neck of the woods, right? That's a heavy lift to do. It can create nuisance or eyesores, but it's also a financial challenge. Because again, you're trying to make those investments in a building that may not be market ready, that you're going to have to sink a lot in to get it market ready. But one community, like I said, noted that as a challenge, a significant challenge to sort of revamp existing stock that could be business locations. So one of their policy changes and updates was they created a new incentive program for local building investors that sort of sunset and created a moratorium on the tax rate for that building, so that those new investments would be sort of paused at the original tax rate of that structure, and that investor was able to make improvements and keep that tax burden fairly low.
Right.
And so they were given some time to sort of build up their assets before that tax bill came full due. I think that's another great example.
Sure.
And then, another sort of more mundane example, if you will, are simple policy changes around litter control or litter ordinances, or a commitment to actually enforce some ordinances that may be on the book but overlooked sometimes, around nuisance, that vehicle that's been parked on the street with tags that are 2 years old, or something like that, right? So sometimes those communities will update nuisance ordinances or other policies related to what's it like to do business. Perhaps the simplest intervention has just been some updates on a local website that helps businesses navigate what it's like to, or sort of the landscape of getting a business license, filing taxes, paying the appropriate things to the appropriate person, which can also be confusing for folks. So I think those are what other communities have gotten out of BRE when they've listened to what the businesses have shared and made a commitment to respond.
Right. And I think that's which we've talked about the why, and we've talked about the what. We're getting ready, and the when. We're getting ready to go to the how.
That's right.
I've got to go down my list. Thank you to Nell Williams and teaching me about journalism all those years ago. It's a strange thing that there are a lot of these topics and conversations that so many of us have had, sitting at lunch somewhere, or around the kitchen table. I keep going to eating with that, but talking about these things one-on-one, but actually going out and soliciting the opinions and the feelings of the folks who are our business community, and then not just collecting that data, putting it on a shelf. That is the absolute worst thing that could happen. We have to take this, crank it through the sausage machine there, and find out what's really there and what can we do about it. So let's talk about the how.
Okay.
So what are we kicking off here? What's actually about to happen?
So what is about to happen is the launch. I'm getting excited.
Okay, get fired up.
It's the launch. We're launching business retention and expansion here in Estill County. And so what that has looked like building up to this moment is, as a part of this R3 grant, and what SEDC often does with communities and support, is we've been working for the last couple months as a team with all of our partners to come up with the best questionnaire and interview set of questions that we can to get at the data that matters. One thing that we do want to make clear is that this isn't going to be a survey full of frivolous questions. Right. That every question has a purpose. That we want every moment spent taking the survey or doing an interview with one of the volunteers to be important.
Well, I can vouch for that. We fought over every single question.
We wordsmith every question. Every question. It's tedious. It's tedious.
It is.
But I have a feeling it will pay off in the future. So we created this question set. You all as a team have a good core group of volunteers who are going to be going out and reaching out to businesses. But you are also invited to participate and do this survey online. And I'm sure you all will be releasing that link as well. So what happens is, as businesses share their thoughts, essentially, their opinions and thoughts, all of that information comes back into that sausage maker, as you say, back into my office with their research team, and they crunch the numbers. So a part of what SEDC brings to the table here is our research expertise. So our research team will be, going through, doing all the statistics and all the analysis, and then we'll be bringing back that data for a big public forum. Hopefully, maybe in a couple months, we can have people together and not sort of feel sort of some kind of way, right? That it's just bizarre now. But so that's kind of the 10,000 foot view, what it looks like. As that information comes in, we'll start to really massage the data and start to do some analysis. But one thing I do want to make very clear and reiterate to any business who may be watching or business owner is that we take your data very seriously. And any concerns that you have about confidentiality, please know that we keep all your personal information, any data that may identify you, we keep all of that confidential and anonymous. Anything that we report as a part of that final forum that we will provide is all more generalized data. We're not going to call out a specific business or a specific business owner. That's not good business for anyone. But we take that very seriously as a charge, in particular at the University of Kentucky. So, I wanted to reiterate that because it's one of the questions that businesses often have is, what are you doing with my information? Right. And the answer to that is we're answering questions that we think you may have already, right? I think that's the number one answer. But what we will not be doing is anything nefarious with any sort of data or particular information.
Right. And which everybody that is volunteering to do the face-to-face interviews with any of our business owners or managers. Everybody's going through a training to learn exactly how to deal with data. But it's a really important thing that, your part of the sausage can't be told from any of the other parts.
Right. I will not reveal your secret spices.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah. So there are going to be different ways that, because everybody's different. They kind of like how everybody learns different. This is the same kind of thing. So if you're the kind of person that wants to have someone come in and sit down with you and actually talk through each one of these questions, then 100% we can do that. If you're more on the other end of the spectrum and you don't like people and don't want to talk to them, then you're going to have the opportunity to take it by yourself online. But we want to make sure and remind you that no matter what, how you're approaching this, that never hesitate to reach out and ask if there's a question you're not really sure if you're reading it the right way or what it's asking or that kind of thing. We want to make sure that that what you have to say represents how you really feel.
That's right.
And we're not going to tell anybody. So, and that's a big concern, because the last thing you want is for, to get interviewed and because you think you're helping and the next, there's a big Facebook argument over something that you said. That's not what we're getting at, and we've taken all the steps that we can think of to keep that from happening.
And in fact, no one really gets quoted in the report. I think everyone sort of becomes an archetype, if you will, of the community. Right. So there is no sort of quoting or anything like that. Right. But those questions, like you said, as you're going through the questions, and if there's one that it's like, does this really pertain to me, or what does this actually mean? Reach out to us because we want you to fully understand. For instance, I will guarantee that every question we had at least 5 or 10 minutes of conversation around. Whether we're talking a word choice or does this word belong here? Is there a synonym we can use? So we tried to make it as relatively short as we could. In terms of time, I think when we went through and tested it ourselves, it was just shy of half an hour.
Yeah, right about half an hour.
Which I think for this sort of important information is probably not too crazy of an investment.
Right. So. Yeah, it's not like you see in the old movies where you go into to be a part of a study and you're there for 3 days and that kind of thing. Ain't nobody got time for that at all. No. But as far as the different partners that we're pulling together, we're not done yet by any stretch. This was kind of the beginning of it was EDA and the Chamber of Commerce kind of getting the ball rolling, and so far we've worked with Citizens Guarantee Bank, City of Irvin, Estill County Public Library, and Mercy Health, Markham and Wallace Hospital. That's just the beginning. We know that there have already actually been people who have reached out just with these initial conversations, saying that they wanted to be part of making this happen. So. Again, backing up to kind of the sky level, we want to get as many business folks as possible to participate, because the more folks that we can hear from, the better our final product is going to be. So I think kind of our tongue-in-cheek sort of, we have to have 50 and we're shooting for 100. That's kind of what we're looking at. And then when you take that and compare it to the list of all the businesses in Estill County, that's a pretty good snapshot.
It is.
So yeah, please, and if you have any questions about how the data is going to be handled and that kind of thing, you holler at me. I can refer you to Shane. He works for UK.
They don't play around with data.
They're a research institution, and I will say, and some of the pieces of this that they have in place, I'll even feel like, come on, guys, that's going a little far. But still, it's making sure that everybody is treated at the highest level and equally and that kind of thing. So okay, so we move forward, and say we've got 100 of these surveys completed, and we've got some pretty good data. It's going through the machine, the supercomputer in the basement of POT in Lexington.
In Barnhart.
It's under Good Barn. So you come up with this report. It's going to be. I'm guessing here we'll have a snapshot of the answers. These are where our averages are coming in. These are the points that are being hit as, top concerns or top assets, going all through the whole deal. And then, like you said a few minutes ago, talking about, well, here's an idea on how to address this specific thing. But at that point, and we'll probably be in a situation kind of like we are right now, trying to get all this information out. Also have a link where folks can download it, look at it. But then what?
Yeah. Then the hard work starts.
Oh, great.
Honestly, I mean, that's the reality. Doing this work is a commitment, and I always share with folks that this isn't for the faint of heart.
Right.
That improving your community isn't easier. It would have been improved before you ever tried.
That's right.
Right. This is difficult stuff. It is time intensive. Mm-hmm. Details matter. Right.
Right.
It makes it a little tricky. But I think that's a great question. What comes next? Mm-hmm. The way that I sort of see this rolling out is we're going to be collecting data and doing some analysis, like you said, for a couple months. Mm-hmm. Not to put a date on it, but it would be awesome to have that public forum in maybe April.
Sure.
Late spring, if you will.
Okay.
But so what happens in that? Like you said, we pull that data together, we crunch the numbers, we may give some means, some averages. But really what we're looking at is some sentiments. What do business owners really feel like here as they do business? What are some things that they are really challenged with, or some things from our perspective in working with other communities, maybe low-hanging fruit? Mm-hmm. What may be sort of long game type strategies?
So the fruit higher up in the tree, is that what you're talking about?
The roots, if you will.
Okay. All right.
So both. And I'm not an either or, I'm an and both.
There you go.
Right. And that report will have a series of recommendations that we'll share that is site specific to you all and to the data. Mm-hmm. But what we do and what we offer is a follow-up. Again, we don't know what 4 months is going to mean for us in terms of getting together. In a pre-pandemic world, what that meant is that we would have a large public forum, mm-hmm. and that some of those recommendations or strategies that come up, we would have staff on hand to help facilitate conversations, to think about initiating next steps. Mm-hmm. I think in our current situation,
Yeah, we'll see.
it's a hybrid.
Yeah.
As much as the BRE is a hybrid of what it was before the pandemic, where before the pandemic, we rarely used an online survey and really focused more on the one-on-one interviews. That's just out of the question now. So what happens is we sort of work lockstep with you, thinking about how do we create the conversations? Who are the people that need to be at the table to talk about this topic? What are our options? What are our scenarios that could play out? What do each of them change if we choose that intervention, if you will, to use a research term, right? So I think that's sort of the choose your own adventure part of the process, right? And I think it is really the limiting factors there, like all community work, is how many committed folks there are willing and able with time and intuition and passion to invest in it.
Right.
I think we have some ideas about what we'd love to see in the summer, but again, in the world we live, I'd be afraid to even announce any of them because they could change tomorrow.
Right. Well, now I was always one of the kids that went to the back of the book and read the end first.
Yes.
And then worked my way toward the front. Is there any way we can do that this time?
Absolutely not.
That's unfortunate.
You'll have to avoid the snake pits and the falling ice.
And I could feel Madam Librarian over here just seething. You're cheating. But take again. I'm always taking a step back, trying to look at the bigger picture. But so I'm sure that there's been someone who has wondered up to this point. Well, I don't own or run a business. What about me?
Yeah. And
that's where, going back to you talking about the BRE being part of R3, which is part of SEDIC, and we actually had a nice half-hour conversation this morning where Shane was kind of trying to talk me off a ledge, because there's so many more questions that we don't have the answers to, and so many ways to approach finding those answers.
Yeah.
And this is just one piece of a much larger puzzle that we're going to do our best, who we've got right now, and then hopefully adding to that with more folks that want to be involved, of figuring out what those, not even where the puzzle pieces are, but what they look like, and then how they connect together. So it's something that's kind of bounced around. It's a whole different critter trying to figure it out, but talking about gaining some of taking the same sort of process just with the community at large to get everybody's opinions and input. Of course, that when you multiply by that many, it kind of gets unwieldy and hard to put your finger on. But there are ways, and so that's definitely in the hopper of trying to figure out, well, what about everybody that we're not talking about with BRE?
Yeah, good point. Because this is just one data point.
Yeah.
This is one data point in a whole system of data that we're existing in, right? Whether we're talking about what's the youth experience like here? What's it like to walk down Main Street? Are there things that invite you if you're driving as a visitor like I was today and you come to the bridge and you forget that it's closed? Or is there good signage to detour you around, right? Luckily, maybe not the greatest signage, but I had good memory, and it's like the bypass, here I come, right? So it's one piece, but what I want to reiterate is the commitment, and I think this is the value of BRE and communities that take it serious, like you all have. That it's not a one-off data point, right? I mean, think about the inflation index. It wouldn't tell us anything if they just gave us that number once.
That's right.
Right? It is the trend and the tracking of that number and the commitment that communities make for this not to be just one-off, but to be a concerted effort that gets revisited every couple years. Not every year.
Right.
Maybe that may be a little much, but every couple years is also really important because it shows a commitment that you care and that you're willing to see where the data leads you for for good or for worse.
Right. What are we doing? What are we doing better than we were 2 years ago, and what maybe has gotten worse?
That's right.
And we tried this in this 2-year period, and obviously that didn't take us where we want to go. We're going to have to back up and punt and think it over.
And also sort of being realistic with what the data says, right? Because if you were doing BRE before the pandemic and you repeated it now and it showed a 40% increase in the business who are now utilizing online or web-based platforms, is that actually a good or bad indicator right now, right? So it's not just that individual data point, just like it's not the individual BRE sort of dictates the future of the community, but together we can really help tell that story when we look at all those pieces.
Well, it's funny. Shane's real sneaky. Because he keeps coming back and referencing some of the other parts of R3 that they're in the process where we're trying to get everything put together. But we do have that first impressions. That's something that we had done on kind of a small scale once before, and was great. All the folks that came to the little forum that we had after that loved it, took away points that I keep hearing even now, and it's been several years ago. So to be able to look forward to doing a full-fledged first impressions, that secret shopper, if you will, for the community. So basically we get to see our hometown with fresh eyes. We get to see how somebody that's never been here sees it, and that's incredibly important. That's from kind of your tourism, a little quality of life standpoint, but then also, and it's something that we've talked about so many times, is okay, how are we going to engage the young people in the community? And it's always like, why are all the kids moving away? How do we keep them here? Well, it's not really how do we keep them here as though we want to chain them to the bridge, but how do we make sure that this is a community that our young people want to stay in or come back to?
That's the $1 million question. Joe, you just did it right there. You did it. That is the question, because every community wants to keep their kids here.
Sure.
I will admit that there are days when I'm just like, I don't want to hear that anymore. Right. Like, I know that there are so many other kids with more suburban or urban lifestyles that are looking for exactly what we have here. In particular, as we get more small rural communities with high-speed broadband, it just makes us more attractive to different people. These mountains have been home to people on their way somewhere else for as long as they've been around.
Right.
That is perhaps the only constant here in these mountains. So I'm kind of a firm believer in let's do what it takes for the people who want to be here, for them to be here.
Right.
But it is hard listening to young people. Not hard in the sense that I don't know what they're saying, but it's hard to corral them because they are very busy people. Their lives are managed to the minute, and Lord help the parents,
right?
Because they have to be there every minute as well. But what I will say, in communities that are doing exceptionally well right now, communities that have really rebounded from the Great Recession, they are very steadily prospering in terms of tax revenues. When we look at the metrics, the two that stick out to me in my experience are Pineville, Kentucky, and Corbin, Kentucky. And Pineville in particular made a commitment about 7 years ago to listen to their young people. They really made a commitment to do a series of public forums that then led right into their planning. If you've been to Pineville recently, it's a pretty amazing little downtown square. It's way different. It's night and day over the last 10 years, for example. But that is all related to them listening to what their high schoolers had to say. And they said, you're in high school. You've got a lot on your plate. We know you're going to be going off or you're going to be doing this. You're going to enter your sort of formidable adult years. But here's the commitment we're going to make. Tell us the place that you want to be. And we are going to do everything we can over the next 4 to 6 years while you're away to college to make this place what you want. I don't think it's all came to fruition, but they've got 0% vacancies. All the buildings are full. The businesses are hopping. They've got a nightlife. There is something for those 20 to 35-year-olds and young families to do where there wasn't before. And it all started because they listened to high school kids.
Right.
So there are a lot of ways to do it. We have to be strategic about it.
Sure.
But I think it is key to sort of creating the future for the next generation. How do you create something if you haven't asked the people who are going to live here and endure it, right? I mean,
It only makes sense.
it almost makes too much sense.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. Why hadn't anybody done that before?
Exactly.
But it is. It's easy to kind of get caught in the day to day, and
So easy.
I'll admit, and I'm one of those people that I'm all about figuring out what's the next thing. What can we become and that kind of thing. And I don't even remember where I heard it at this point, but at some point I picked up along the way some speaker that said, nobody wants change. They want to be comfortable. They want to understand that when you lay down in your bed at night and you close your eyes, you want to know that when you open your eyes, everything's going to look exactly the same. And so just as human beings, we want that expectation, that comfort of knowing that everything's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so when you think about, how do you make things better? Well, that does mean you're going to have to change something. But it doesn't mean that you have to completely abandon who you've always been.
That's right.
We have, talking about whether you want to say Eastern Kentucky or Kentucky in general, Appalachia, Estill County, whichever subdivision, we have pieces and parts of a culture that makes us who we are.
That's right.
And we don't have to let go of that. We can just figure out how to be that, but better.
Yeah. We in this region collectively have so much going for us that it's kind of like the first impression. Sometimes in our communities, we don't always see those great things, and sometimes the things that really drive us crazy, other visitors don't even pay attention to, right? I think that happens a lot here in the region. But we just have so much that is just sort of latent material, right? Not in the sense of building material, but the things that make greatness. And I think Appalachia's full of it, whether we're talking about people who are committed, people who are helping friends and family that they go above and beyond, whether we're talking about our unique landscape, the stories that people and the places and sort of those others that came before us. There's not a lot of places in America that has the rich stories, rich history. I always joke with my wife that one of the reasons I love this place is that I can stand on land that is older than the Atlantic Ocean. Right. And there is something magical about that. And I think as the world has sped up, there is something attractive about a place that is perceived to be a little bit slower. And I know for someone who has lived, personally for myself, I've lived in very high-paced cities and very small towns. There's something, in my younger days, I would want to leave because everybody knew everybody, but now it's like, that's one of the reasons, just like Geno was saying earlier, it's one of the reasons that I love this place is because you can tap into that. There's this like latent knowledge and capacity. But, I could go on and on about my appreciation just for the region and for its people. But I think what I really want to get at here is that Estill County in particular is positioned so well to really take advantage of this. Situated on the outskirts of a growing metropolitan area with a university and that university culture. But then sandwiched between that metro area and kind of the front door to the gorge, right? Like you couldn't be better positioned here unless you were maybe, on the corner outside Colonial Downs or Churchill Downs, right? But I mean, there are things innate about this place and this community that I think position you all well to really move some of what we learn forward.
Right. Well, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to learn. We're going to figure out what's the next step. How do we apply, at least from this perspective and through this lens, what needs to happen. What are the small steps that we can take, and what are some of the big steps that we have to plan for? And I will say, if you're watching and you see Shane, he's kind of put together well tonight, and he's got his his paperboy cap on,
right?
But he's and he's got the professor beard, but he's definitely not a professor, and he is definitely from the same neck of the woods as we are. That's
very
one
much
thing I say.
Very much
he's
so.
Just on the other side of the mountain. That's so,
for the most part.
But yeah, so just kind of to recap, we are getting ready to hit the ground running with the Business Retention and Expansion Program, BRE, for Estill County. So all you business owners out there, just know that odds are you're going to hear from one of us, and it's not a scam whenever they call.
It is not a scam.
They'll have papers with them that you can call me, and
I do not care about your warranty.
Yeah. But it's kicking off, and we really hope that everybody will participate. Again, this is just another step forward.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that I would say to any business that chooses to participate, this is all voluntary. There are a number of open-ended questions that are asking you your opinion. The more you share with us, the more we have to work with.
Right.
So if you are willing and able to write a sentence as opposed to a word, or a paragraph as opposed to a sentence, I am not one to take offense to someone being verbose.
No,
that is an inside joke, because I am the world's worst at being brief. So if you are like me and you want to write a small dissertation as your responses,
sure.
I'm going to be the one reading it, and would love to read every thought that you have about those questions. So
wow, it's on now.
It's on, It's on. I'm committed to it. I may have just opened the floodgates.
Yeah, mercy sakes. I also want to say, if you don't hear from someone and you're just itching to go ahead and do the survey, then reach out to us, and we'll get on it immediately.
One thing that I think I should come back to is you were asking earlier about the types of businesses, briefly. And one thing that I will say is that if you are questioning whether or not you are a business or a legitimate business, and I'm not even a business,
right?
I'm going to say more often than not you may be, right? So I would think if you are a musician and you're playing for money, and you think that you may want to sort of do that, think about it as your business. If you are an independent contractor, in particular if you're cutting hair in a beauty salon, you are a business, right, even though you are working under the umbrella of someone who may own the chairs, right? If you're a contractor and you work out of your pickup truck, right, and your gutter machine is on a trailer, but you work for yourself, but you don't have a brick and mortar, you're a business, and we would love to hear from you.
Exactly.
So what I would say is that if you are doing something, whether it's a passion project or not, and you are making money or want to make money at it, or have that dream to open that business, I would invite you to share those responses.
That's perfect. And there will be more and more coming out about BRE. It's not going away. You're not going to be able to hide from it. It's going to be bouncing around all over the interwebs and otherwise very soon, starting tonight. So I guess we're about out of time.
Okay.
So I just do want to say a big thank you again, Mr. Shane Barton from SEDIC at University of Kentucky, making the trip over and telling us all the tales, man.
I got more tales.
I know
there will be more. There will be more. I'm looking forward to it.
And I'm sure you're going to see Shane again. I haven't been able to get rid of him in 15 years.
No, you haven't.
It's but it's always a pleasure to have you over here.
Yeah,
it's nice.
I love it.
Excellent. I do want to say again a congratulations to our 3 newly minted Estill County captains, Fred Rogers, Geno, Seale, and Estine Tipton. Definitely well deserved on all three cases. And I normally forget, and I'm glad that I haven't this time. I have to say a huge thank you to Mr. Ethan Moore from WSKV Radio, who has basically an entire Hollywood production studio that he carries around in a box. and it's incredible. We definitely couldn't do any of this live streaming type stuff that we do without him. Yeah, it would just basically be me holding my phone up and then trying to do, selfie live stream with whoever we're talking to. But again, we want to thank everyone for tuning in, whether you're watching this live or you're watching it recorded. And we look forward to seeing you next time. So thank you very much.
Do you want to be a part of growing Estill County into a better place to live, work, and play? Then consider a tax-deductible contribution to Estill Development Alliance. For over 25 years, EDA has been working to improve the quality of life for the people of Estill County. Through a multitude of projects and programs, we work to make our hometown the best it can be. Learn more or make a donation by visiting estill.org. Hello there, Radio Land. This is Goosehead Joe. Do you want to learn more about the people, news, and views that make Urban, Ravenna, and Estill County Kentucky's hometown? Join me for Come On Home. We have awesome guests, amazing local music, and we have a good old time. Join me every Wednesday from 1 to 3. You'll be glad you did.
I'm going home.